The story of Ishikawa Goemon begins in a turbulent period of feudal Japan. Born around 1558, Goemon was shaped by the difficulties of his time. From childhood, he saw the inequalities that divided Japanese society. Goemon's childhood was not easy. He grew up in a Japan marked by civil war and the unequal distribution of wealth. During these years, he was influenced by the oppression of the peasants and the brutality of the samurai. Goemon learned to see the samurai and feudal class as his enemies, those who exploited the weakest. His first years of life prepared him for what would become his path as an outlaw. In the early years of his adult life, Goemon became involved in various criminal activities. He began to carry out small thefts, but his cunning and skill soon put him on the radar of more renowned criminals, establishing his reputation as a thief. His skill with the sword and his stealth quickly made him famous in the criminal world. But Goemon did not steal only for greed. He saw himself as an adventurer and vigilante, taking from the rich to help the poor. Goemon soon became the leader of a gang of thugs, and his fame grew as his exploits spread across Japan. His name became synonymous with popular justice, a symbol for those who felt oppressed. Among the most notable robberies of Goemon, one was the assault on Azuchi Castle, home of the dreaded Oda Nobunaga. Goemon, with his incredible ability to infiltrate, managed to penetrate one of the most protected castles in Japan. After invading Azuchi Castle, Goemon took a huge amount of gold and jewels, leaving Nobunaga perplexed by his boldness and skill. But Goemon knew that boldness always brought risks. But despite his brilliant deeds, Goemon knew that living as an outlaw was not sustainable. In each big blow, he drew more attention and enemies, including the dreaded Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who wanted to capture him at all costs. Goemon, even being persecuted by powerful authorities, never gave up on his mission. He stole from the rich and corrupt, always aiming to expose the flaws and oppression of the feudal system, which made him even more dear among the peasants. He continued to make great thefts and increasingly became a mythical figure. Stories about Goemon began to spread throughout Japan. He was now a living legend, able to deceive any enemy. Ishikawa Goemon has always been an enigmatic figure, and the way he became one of Japan's greatest outlaws is due to his extraordinary skills in stealth and combat. He was known for his supernatural agility and mastery of ninja techniques, which made him almost invisible to the eyes of his pursuers. His talent and courage were not limited to theft. Goemon was also a born strategist, and his ability to plan bold and complex attacks made his exploits legendary. Some say he even managed to invade the palaces of his enemies, defying all the norms of the time. Despite his relationship with crime, Goemon was not an ordinary thief. He stole from corrupt, rich, and abusive rulers, which guaranteed him great popularity among the people. He was seen as a Japanese Robin Hood, a then-hero closest quotes that took from the powerful to give to the needy. Throughout his journey, Goemon has been involved in several alliances with other bandits and rebels from feudal Japan. Together, they carried out coordinated attacks on fortresses and castles, creating a widespread panic among the rulers of the time. However, the greatest achievement of Goemon was during the invasion of a fortress belonging to Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man responsible for unifying Japan. Goemon infiltrated the fortress and took with him an absurd amount of treasures. He did it so cleverly that no one could understand how he had passed through the most advanced defense systems. Over time, Goemon has not only become a legend, but also a symbol of resistance against abuses of power. Stories of their exploits began to spread throughout Japan, inspiring others to follow their example and challenge the tyranny of rulers. His fame also extended to the kabuki theaters. The plays that portrayed Goemon showed him not as a simple bandit, but as a hero who faced corruption and injustice. He was worshipped as a man who, despite his flaws, never abandoned his morals. But with all this power and notoriety, the capture of Goemon became inevitable. Over the years, he was relentlessly persecuted by Toyotomi Hideyoshi and other rulers who saw in him a growing threat to his authority. At a critical moment, Goemon was betrayed by one of his own allies, which resulted in his capture. He was taken to Kyoto, where he was held in prison, awaiting his trial. During all this time, he kept his stance until the end. During his time in prison, Goemon became a figure of resistance. He talked to other prisoners, encouraging them not to lose hope and continue to fight against oppression. His aura of leadership only increased, even while he was imprisoned. Finally, Goemon was taken to a public execution. His death was brutal and symbolic. He was placed in a hot oil boiler, a cruel punishment that reflected the ruthlessness of his enemies. However, the resistance and dignity with which he faced his death made him a martyr. His death was not the end of his legend. On the contrary, it solidified his position as a popular hero. Goemon became a symbol of rebellion against tyranny, and his figure was immortalized in stories and songs that echoed for generations. In many versions of his story, Goemon is portrayed as a kind of avenging the oppressed class. He was not only a bandit, but a popular hero who challenged a cruel system, always seeking justice, even if his own life was the price.